I'll be talking more about heel pain, not about the treatment part of it, because my two previous speakers have already spoken about PRP and corticosteroid injection. The foot is a really unique to human being. The structure of the foot allows the foot to sustain large weight-bearing stresses under a variety of surfaces and activates that maximizes stability and mobility. Pain in the heel may occur from conditions from the posterior and the plantar aspect and from the calcaneum and the tendo Achilles. This is the anatomy of the calcaneum. Now, the most stresses are on the plantar surface and the posterior surface of the calcaneum. The heel pad has many fat globules enclosed by multiple fibroelastic septae. Now, the biomechanics is the calcaneum is elevated anteriorly so that during heel strike, the posterior tubercle comes in contact with the ground and transmits your full body weight. This makes the calcaneum vulnerable to trauma and microfractures. Plantar fascia inserts through several slips into the plantar plate of the metatarsophalangeal joint, the flexor tendon sheath, and the base of the proximal phalanges of the digits. It's under traction all the time, pulled distally around the metatarsal head, that is the windlass phenomena. This tightening elevates the longitudinal arch. Once the toes are dorsiflex, the longitudinal arch is under immense pressure and it is taut. In that, the hind foot and the leg externally rotate, and this mechanism will entirely depend on your ligament stability. This is the windlass mechanism of plantar fascia. You can see in the first picture, right? The toes are touching the ground. The aponeurosis is not very stretched. In the second picture, you can see the dorsiflexion of the toes giving rise to a taut plantar fascia. Plantar fascia is a thick connective tissue which supports the arch of the bottom of the foot. It runs from the tuberosity of the calcaneum forward towards the head of the metatarsal bones. This is a short presentation of how the weight of 120 pounds is distributed on the talus, the calcaneum, and the metatarsal heads. Now, this is a list of the common causes of heel pain: plantar fasciitis, atrophy of the fat pad, traumatic case, retrocalcaneal bursitis, tendo Achilles bursitis, Achilles tendinopathy, abnormal arches of the foot, tarsal tunnel syndrome, calcaneal epiphysitis, Haglund deformity, medial lateral plantar nerve entrapment, exostosis of calcaneum, obesity, tumors. Now, plantar fasciitis is a painful foot condition caused by inflammation of the insertion of the plantar fascia on the medial process of the calcaneal tuberosity. It's not on the medial process, it's basically on posterior medial side. Now, this is the etiology. Anyone can get affected. There's no literature saying anything between 40 and 60. Women are more affected. Certain type of exercises put a lot of stresses on the heel, such as long distance running, dancing, aerobics, Zumba, and particularly activities like that. Faulty foot mechanics is one of the causes. Being a flat feet, having a high arch, or even having an abnormal pattern of walking can lead rise to plantar fasciitis. Mechanical overload on the plantar fascia or damaged by direct trauma. The mechanical overload of the plantar fascia damage common among the people who have to stand for long hours, who work with safety shoes, right? Who normally wear high arch footwear, poor arch support in the shoes, prolonged standing, and lead to micro tears and inflammation. The one more reason is gastrosoleus tightness. So when there is a limited range of dorsiflexion, and these short musculature don't allow the tibia to glide anteriorly when the foot is touching the ground. This can be compensated by pronation of the subtalar joint. The pronated foot causes a lot of stretches of the plantar fascia during the push-off phase of gait, and this will lead to plantar fasciitis. I've already explained about windlass mechanism. Now, tibialis posterior weakness. Tibialis posterior controls pronation during flat foot and the mid-stance phase of the gait cycle. Weakness of this muscle can cause excessive pronation of the subtalar joint, and this can lead to the posterior medial side coming in contact with the ground all the time, leading to plantar fasciitis. Excessive walking, running on hard surfaces, obesity, even a high arch. Now, in a high arch lacks the normal mobility, which reduces the foot ability to absorb shock from the ground, thereby increasing the stresses on the plantar fascia. Even ill-fitting shoes, worn-out shoes will be one of the causes for plantar fasciitis. Clinical features: pain under the heel, severe pain and inability to walk in the morning or getting up from a sitting position after sitting for a prolonged time. Pain gets better after taking a few steps. Pain, worsening of pain after prolonged standing or walking, localized tenderness on the inferior-medial part, and passive dorsiflexion of the toes increases the pain. Plantar fasciitis have more tendency in the plantar fascia when it is stretched and less tenderness when the fascia is relaxed in plantar flexion. Commonest investigations we normally do is an X-ray, AP and axial and a lateral view, just to see if there is any calcification in the plantar aponeurosis. We hardly ever do an MRI or a bone scan for these particular cases. Now, these are some of the pictures of the X-ray and MRI pictures here. Now, the other causes for heel pain is retrocalcaneal bursitis. Now, this retrocalcaneal bursitis is basically between the anterior aspect of the tendo-Achilles and the calcaneum. You may get a midline swelling, which will be on the either side of the tendo-Achilles. Swelling is tender, dorsiflexion increases the pain. The other cause is fat pad atrophy, tarsal tunnel syndrome, where you have entrapment of the posterior tibial nerve within the tarsal tunnel. You have pain and abnormal sensation in the distribution of the tibial nerve. You have more night pain in this particular cases. Again, the causes are the same: ill-fitting shoes, post-traumatic fibrosis, tendon sheath, thickened flexor retinaculum. Now, one more thing is the Haglund deformity. Now, these deformities are basically, there's a small bony spur which is formed on the superior aspect of the posterior part of the calcaneum, right? It is very common in football players or who are into the high velocity sports activity. The bump is located under the posterior superior aspect of the heel. Increasing the heel height or one shoe size may reduce pain in Haglund deformity. The other thing is calcaneal apophysitis. During puberty, epiphyseal junction is weak, so prone to pull of the calf muscle, leading to microscopic fracture separation. Pain and tenderness is on the area where you have insertion of the tendo-Achilles and the posterior part of the calcaneum. Radiography shows increased density of epiphyses and fragmentation of epiphyses. Now you can see that these are the pictures of epiphysitis. Now, tendo-Achilles tendinopathy, it is classified by tendinitis, inflammation of the tendo-Achilles. Tendinosis, degenerative process occurring to widening of the tendon itself. The tendon is placed under extreme and rapid loading activities like running, playing, basketball, soccer. Clinical features include gradual onset of pain and swelling 2 to 3 centimeters proximal to the insertion of the tendo-Achilles. Traumatic heel pain, injury, post-traumatic injury, calcaneal stress fractures. Now the treatment part, activity modification, rest, ice packs is very good in these cases. Footwear modification, weight reduction, orthosis, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, corticosteroids and PRP injections. Now corticosteroids and PRP, my two previous speakers have already spoken about it. Now first is rest, avoid precipitating activities, take a few days off from jogging, running, can reduce severity of the pain. Ice packs can reduce inflammation, leading to decreased pain, anti-inflammatory medicine. Footwear modification by adding an arch to the foot, increase the heel height. Strengthening exercises like these pictures, what they have demonstrated here. These are the orthoses what are to be used. We hardly use night splints. Stretching exercises, plantar stretching exercises. This is one of the methods, but I have no...